Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Rita. I hope you are having a blessed and very productive week. So for my friends in Oregon, specifically Portland, if you are trying to hold the line and they're in Portland, if the riots have not scared you off, if you do not have an exit strategy, now might be a good time to think about it. I mean, that could actually go for all of us here in the US, but specifically today, my Portland friends. So apparently, Reynolds County School District or Reynolds School District has decided that it is going to open a BIPOC, colored folk only school. BIPOC. I can't stand that acronym, whatever. All these acronyms are driving me absolutely insane. But if you don't know, BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, People of Color. But we're just going to say colored people because, you know, it's the same thing. Jim Crow, you know, it was around the time I think they used to say colored people, right? Because they had the coloreds only water fountains and the coloreds only schools. Well, we are rolling it back, honey. We are regressing, not progressing. We are regressing back to Jim Crow time. So in Portland, there is an organization called Holla. That's right. Holla. Holla. If this homepage of this organization called Holla looks familiar, well, you know, we can only guess why it looks like so many other things that we've seen as of late. So this Holla organization will be the first BIPOC only. That means no white folk allowed. Unbelievable. I'm pretty sure this is illegal. Segregation, but you know, details. BIPOC only charter school to open in Portland. If you don't know, charter schools are part of the public school system, so they are using public funds for this. There are other funds too that are being used, and we'll get into that in a second. So the founder of this Holla organization, which is, from what I can gather, sort of like a mentorship, which mentorships are great. But the question is always what is being taught, right? What are people mentoring these children to do? Like, what are they teaching them, right? What are they pouring into them? Right. So that's always the question to be asked when you look at different types of camps in schools or whatever that you're sending or extracurricular boys and girls club types things that you're sending your children to. The question always has to be asked, well, what are they teaching the children? This Portland school has been, so this is what Eric Knox, the founder, has to say. Basically that Portland has been labeled the whitest big city in America. That can make it difficult for some Black, Indigenous, and colored folk, colored people, to see themselves reflected in their communities and schools. I do not agree with this. That's why there's an effort to make a space specifically for colored people, students, where they feel seen. He didn't say colored people, I interjected that. Where they feel seen, heard, and their experiences are reflected in curriculum. So so how do you read about history? So you can't read about history. You have to see yourself in every bit of history that there is, or you don't need to learn about it. Is that? Oh gosh. Okay. It's very hard to learn when you don't see yourself in the curriculum. You don't see yourself in educational model, says Eric Knox, executive director and founder of Holla, a nonprofit in Portland that pairs youth of color with mentors of color. So a child can't just have a mentor. They have to have a colored folk, a person of color mentor. This person of color thing it's like, okay, so white people don't have color. Anyway, I digress. No, they're translucent. You guys are translucent. That's right. I forgot. Anyway, so this is happening in Portland. Make no mistake, it is coming. We all know that what we see along this west coast, I'm sorry, this terrible west coast, and I say terrible, even though it's beautiful, I say terrible because of all of the schmutz that comes out of the coast. So the west coast, you know, giving us this. So now, but here is the good stuff. Here's the good stuff. Eric Knox says that there will be a very strong hip hop focus around our kids' learning style. What's that? What'd you say? You didn't hear me? You want me to say it again? Okay. Okay, I'll say it again. There will be a very strong hip hop focus around our kids' learning style. Like, what does it mean to keep it real? What does it mean, the grind? How to handle your haters? Anyway, Knox insists that the curriculum will still be tied to math and literacy, but hip hop is what our kids understand. Is that all Black and brown children can understand is hip hop culture and hip hop language? I mean, what in the what? So let's talk about this idea of being tied to math and literacy. What does it mean to be tied to? That means that something else is going to be taught, and that other thing is going to tie in math and literacy. So if math and literacy are not the focus, if those are not the foundations of the curriculum, then what is? So the Holla School mission, this is going to tell us: to change the academic narrative of Black, brown, and indigenous youth by honoring lived experiences, catalyzing genius, and centering joy. Okay, this sounds like everybody gets a trophy and we're just gonna do like Barney time all day.
You are special, you're the only one.
Next, to explore student identities, there's your curriculum. Nurture their curiosity, ignite their criticality, and orient them in the world. Now, how do you orient them in the world if you are keeping them isolated from other people? The beauty of having an integrated school is that you get to glean off of one another. The beauty, in my opinion, there are people who don't agree with this. The beauty of America, in my opinion, is that you meet people from so many different cultures. Having grown up in Chicago, I have tried so many different foods. I have met so many different people from every different culture, but we all are American. Like you are American, even though you have a background from somewhere else. The beauty of it is you get to experience different cultures and experience different ideas that is the beauty of integration. That is the beauty of this country. But Eric doesn't think so. He doesn't think that Black folk can learn when there are other people in the room because we are apparently. I digress. Moving on. Bullet point number 3, to systematize the use of a comprehensive, anti-racist, culturally and historically responsive instructional framework that centers literacy and relationships through mentoring, entrepreneurship, and acknowledging the contributions of our community. So, comprehensive so an anti-racist framework. Oh, so this is critical race theory is so now we know what the foundation is, because I was confused when he said that the curriculum would be tied to math and literacy. So now I know that what they're doing is they're just coming out with it. They're just being a lot less covert than what the public schools are doing. What they're telling us is, yeah, well, we're going to be teaching anti-racist woke crap to your kids. We're going to be indoctrinating them fully into the hate-filled ideology of progressivism and wokeness and the critical race train. That is what they're going to be teaching. So the curriculum, best believe, he said it right here: comprehensive, anti-racist, culturally and historically responsive instructional framework that centers literacy through So it's this everything. So this is activism. This is a school for activism, not just any old activism. This is a school that is going to utilize the fervor and the passion and the angst of young people and create little militant, racist, white-hating soldiers. That's what this is going to do. Not only is this taxpayer funded, but schools like Eric's are going to be heavily funded by other organizations too. Like what? Well, for instance, Michael Bloomberg announced that he will be donating $750 million to grow the charter school sector. this is interesting because typically progressives, which he is a hardcore progressive, except for the fact that he loves money so much, he loves capitalism actually, which they all do. They just lie and say they don't, but they love that green, they love that money. But anyway, Michael Bloomberg is going to be investing 700 or has promised to donate $750 million to grow the charter school sector. He's not the only one. The Equitable Facilities Fund, called the EFF, announced a $500 million goal of financing charter schools, wait for it, led by colored folk. So these two investments attack the financial divide. Then they talk about, inequitable access to funding for schools and all this stuff. So what does this say? What this says to me is that the public school, the public school system has been outed. They have outed themselves over the past 2 years. Parents have been more involved. Parents are taking their kids out of public schools. They are putting them in private schools. They are trying to hustle and get on these lotteries for the charter schools. So to me, this looks like a shift in focus. There is a group, including these organizations, who are shifting focus. They are putting their money toward charter schools because, by and large, my understanding that the charter schools have kind of been in the shadows and haven't been completely largely affected by what has been going on as far as the indoctrination, and because they have a more classical teaching. So they haven't been affected as much. So this to me is a targeted attack, or I shouldn't say attack, but a targeted investment for charter schools in order to start to switch their curriculum to all of this anti-racist, woke, critical theory, Marxist crap. And people talk about, I talk about this a lot because this critical theory stuff. People don't understand the impact that it's having on our society. It's not just the race stuff, that whole thing. If you've ever watched or read anything by Vadi Balcom, he's a pastor. Anyway, he kind of talks about the critical theory boxcars, right? And James Lindsay. Those are two people. If you haven't checked them out, I would highly recommend them. They talk about these boxcars and how the critical theory is Marxism. It's just racist Marxism. It's race as opposed to, the proletariat. This is focused on race. So the boxcars come with feminism. The boxcar is the LGBTQA, yada, yada, yada. So these are all the boxcars that come in the critical theory. So it's the racism, it's the feminism, everything you're seeing. This is why I've said in some of my other videos that flag that they fly, that they used to just be like an LGBT rainbow flag is what people would think. But that flag is the flag of, it's a Marxist flag. And if you look at some of these people who fly these flags, if you just look it up and look into it a little bit, how they keep adding more colors, all of these boxcars of all of these different ideologies are represented in that flag. That flag is, like I've said before, it's a flag that says, this is a new nation. This is a new country. We don't represent that old flag anymore. We represent critical theory, this race stuff, this feminism stuff, this gender stuff, the abortion, all of the really wicked, evil things that our society wants to elevate. These are the things that come in this critical race or critical theory boxcar. This is what people need to understand. So Michael Bloomberg and the organization is now targeting charter schools. I'm sure there are a whole lot of other organizations. The other kicker in this is that they are going to make sure they give this money to educators of color and serve students of color. So here's the other thing about the other side to this. This is not really about children of color or Black kids or whatever not being able to learn in a white environment or in a white curriculum or whatever. There are plenty of people, Black people all throughout history who have done amazing things. That is not, so they can't see themselves. It is not about that. Most Black kids in this country, go to schools where there is that is predominantly Black, or at the very least predominantly Black and Latino, okay? Or how they learn has nothing to do with whiteness or being around in a city that's mostly white. That is irrelevant. Nobody ever wants to talk about the root causes, is what they like to say all the time. Root causes, right? Nobody wants to talk about the home dynamics, the violent, the high crime, the violence. No one ever, they actually act like it's not even there. So I'm curious, this school, like these schools like this Holla school that Eric Knox is, spearheading. What are you going to do about the violent crime in the neighborhoods? You think white people has to do with black people shooting each other and mowing each other down and kicking in each other's front door to rob each other and pillage and rape? And what are you going to do about that? You think that has to do with whiteness? You don't think that has to do with, the wickedness in people's hearts? Okay, so already this is faulty. Not to mention it's extraordinarily racist. We are going backwards, people. Segregation is not a good thing. It's a bad thing. How do you glean from other people if you are isolated? This is how it works. They are trying to create a whole bunch of racist militants. Okay. And they're doing it through your children. They're doing it in the public schools, and now they're targeting the charter schools. So, and I'm sure a few private schools too. Better keep an eye out for that. Anyway, I just wanted to bring this to you guys. What do you think about this? Obviously, for obvious reasons, segregation is terrible. Why are we going backwards? Why are these evil, wicked people trying to drag us backwards, trying to tell us that color blindness is a bad thing, is part of whiteness? That's stupid. It's just flat out stupid. Can't even wrap my mind around such evil. Anyway, pray for these people. Let's be praying for these people. That's all I can say. Pray for these people, that their hearts would change, that their hearts would not embrace such wicked ideologies. And again, as I always say, that we, in talking about this stuff and thinking through these things, would use wisdom and discernment in how to approach these topics, because these people are clearly unstable, and there is wickedness in their heart. Some people you won't be able to get through if you talk to about things like this. Others you might, but try not to become disheartened, as I won't say I often do, but it becomes hard. Sometimes you get disheartened and you're like, this just all sucks. I'm moving to where, I don't know. Where do you go? Where do you go? Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying your week. Let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know what you think about this whole for colored folk only. They're not fooling us, right? They try to mind trick us to thinking it's not, colored people like back in the day, colored only. And that's what they try to do, mind trick us into thinking that this is something. Oh, it's people of color. No, it's coloreds only. Don't play games with it. Some of us were taught these things in school. Okay, maybe they're not teaching some stuff now that we were taught, but I was taught, and I know Jim Crow when I see Jim Crow, and this is it, baby. This is it. Anyway, another racist situation, segregation. What are you gonna say? Until next time, I will talk to you soon. God bless. Ciao.